Now, I know this is not at all an apples to apples comparison, but I have been spending quite a bit of time in each of these machines lately moving brush, as you can see. And I just wanted to give my thoughts on pros and cons to each of them and what they do best. And then at the end, I'll have a time-lapse video of each machine doing what it does best. And then you can kind of see how they do their job. So some of the pros and cons of, I guess, the grapple. So you can pick up a lot smaller debris a lot quicker and in larger quantities. So you can rake up a lot of small sticks and carry a huge pile of that to the burn pit. Versus that, you can't carry near as much with a thumb and a bucket. Also, raking, it's a lot more user-friendly if you haven't spent that much time, or even if you have spent a lot of time in these machines. It's a lot easier with the grapple to rake than it is with the teeth of a bucket. And then transport speed, so I've been having multiple central burn piles, but it'll sometimes be 100 feet back and forth from the tree or the area I'm working on to transport a bunch of brush and sticks to the pile, and it's way quicker in either a skid steer or a tractor with a grapple compared to excavators. They're notorious for being very slow in transporting. So that's another advantage of the grapple. One thing that's a disadvantage to the grapple, so the visibility, you can't see near as well as what you could on an excavator with or without a cab. You can see what you're working on a lot better. Also, you know, with the transporting speed, they're a lot rougher of a ride than the excavator because you're moving around so much, whereas the excavator, you kind of sit put. You can rake around, you make a pile and rake around, move, and so you're not constantly jarring your body around. Also, I think the excavator obviously is a lot better at grabbing precarious objects, so things like stumps or oddly shaped logs, you know, it's a lot easier to grab with a thumb than with the grapple. I mean, you can pick up a very large stump with that grapple, but it kind of tweaks on it and you know, bends it in ways it probably shouldn't be, whereas the thumb, I mean, they're pretty resilient. You can grab a really oddly shaped stump and not feel too bad about it. Another thing where if you were just moving through the trees and raking and making a lot of small piles of brush as opposed to, you know, large central piles like that, the excavator would be better at that as well, I think. If I had to pick one machine, I would definitely go to the grapple, and normally that is what I use for clearing brush. It's just a lot quicker, a lot easier, and if I have both of them out here, I'd kind of just use the excavator to rake, you know, I mean, spots where it's like a lot of roots and clumps of stuff that are a little harder to peel out with the grapple, or stumps, you know, I'll pluck those out with the excavator a lot of the times and then clean up the roots and stuff after they've been pulled out with the grapple. One thing I forgot to mention that's an advantage to the excavator is this pile is probably 15 feet tall or so, and that's as a result of the excavator. You can definitely stack a pile way higher and reach better, obviously, with the excavator than with the tractor. It'd probably be half that high and more spread out, so it's nice to have the excavator to get it more centralized. So those are just some of my quick thoughts after spending time in both of these machines side by side. If you have a grapple and you've been daydreaming about an excavator, save your money. They're not worth it as far as just clearing brush. Like, obviously they're a way different tool and they have their place and they're way better at pulling stumps and, you know, other things, but just when it comes down to clearing brush and trees on large pieces of property, and if you have one thing to pick, I think the grapple is where it's at.